Good afternoon. My name is Scott Redler, Chief Strategic Officer at T3Live.com. Welcome to today's recap and look ahead. So a little bit of follow through. Hey, trade follow through, right? Yesterday we had the Fed. Fed came out, kept rates flat, little hawkish, so a little bit of best of both worlds where, they're keeping rates at zero, but things are getting a little bit better, so they're on alert. And PS, we're a bunch of technical traders, and we saw that lower wedge. I've been putting it on Twitter every day. What do we need to clear for the bulls? The bulls with the horns, to take the bull back, and that was yesterday. So if you positioned yesterday, you got paid today. Okay, if you didn't position yesterday, it was a little difficult as far as buying after the open. But anyway, let's just get into it. Lots of great stocks, a lot of great action. Here was your 2-year range that we broke above, 2-year range. What did we do here? We retested it. That was your 2120. And then, like I said before, here is your lower range or wedge below the breakdown, and then boom. Okay, yesterday, as it was happening, I posted the chart saying the lower wedge that we've been trapped in with actually a higher level of support just resolved to the upside. And then today you had your follow through. So with that being said, we're near all-time highs again. We've had a few gap ups. Now we'll see if we could do a little work above this gap. It wouldn't surprise me if we hang out here a little bit, before trying to make new highs. But before, that we actually broke, I was talked about the bullish undertones. What's a bullish undertone? Good charts breaking out prior. And usually when technology leads, that's a telling sign. And what happened here? Boom. Okay, here was your breakout of the Qs. And what did the Qs do? The Qs were holding higher well before any other sector. What did the Qs do before this? Break above your lower wedge and hold in there. So that gave you at least, a signal to cheat a little long yesterday. And then now, pow, all-time highs in the Qs. And then a lot of stocks in our go-to list, and we have a go-to list in Redler All Access. What's a go-to list? A list of stocks that trade well, that we follow, that we track, that we trade, that we own, that we try and have a portfolio manager, portfolio approach with. At the bottom of my note, you can see them all on my disclosures. Well, some of them acted very well. Came in long Amazon today. You know what? Amazon had its day 3 move. We talk about Redler's little process, day 1, day 2, day 3. Well, bought yesterday, sold today. Looks good, probably continues. Google, finally, friggin' Google broke out. Woohoo! Anyway, Google, we talked about this, gap above the prior earnings. It's consolidated. Yesterday it cleared 804. Today it cleared 811 to 813 and closed pretty well. So anyway, I am still in Google. I'm going to try and stay with Google. Let's hope it stays above this prior resistance that turns into support. Maybe if someone finally comes out and upgrades this thing, no one has, and this is a very widely held stock. It takes a lot to move it, and overall, to me, this macro pattern looked really good. And no one really talks about this, but it's having a stealth move, and here you go. There's your macro pattern that is trying to break out. So it's not extended, in my opinion. Maybe it takes a day off tomorrow. I don't know, option expiration, but to me, this looks higher. BABA has been my bread and butter for the last month, but you guys already know that. Big breakout above 81 bound here, breakout above 85 there. Then we had a whole nother plan put in place when it held the earnings gap, broke above this flag. Look at that, actually retested it right there. And then another nice move yesterday. For me, I did not take BABA overnight because, a little extended. Doesn't mean it's a short, but for me, I bought a little bit in the hole 2 days ago, took it yesterday, held it today, sold it in the morning, and it was a really nice trade. Overall, though, I don't see why this thing would not get up to here at some point. It's got a lot of room. Big time pattern here, big time accumulation, lots of funds involved now. And still people shorting it. So there's room here. It's just, to me, it's a little extended for my taste. So I did not take it. But if you're in it and trade around it, congrats, go for it. Then let's talk about some of what else we want to talk about here. Apple, I did get back involved. Not the best or most powerful scenario, but you know what? Broke above 110.30, came back and retested this prior pivot and held, and it looks as if at some point this will get taken out. So might as well have a little bit, let it work its way through, because once it gets above this, we'll be buying more. And my target for Apple is somewhere near this 120. On this gap up after earnings, that was my A play. boom, put in a target of 108 to 112, went to 110, pulled back, gave you a double bottom, took out all the moving averages, and now this looks really good. You know, I do still think it has a home higher. Let's talk about U.S. Steel. Yesterday I went home long. Today I sold it. It was just a laggard play. You know, big gap up into resistance. No more of that. FCX I think did the same kind of thing. I actually went a little bit higher. TLTs, great option play, everyone. You know, I typically don't like to buy paper when it's cheap, but you know what? You know, I've been learning how to do this a little bit. What does that mean? Remember, you know, when it broke this range to the downside, I said on this day, you can look at my tweet, if you are short, cover here. This is when we bought last Friday's calls alongside this Friday's, and you know, I guess I was a little bit conservative because this was a great trade, and then today I sold tomorrow's calls, even though they could go up a little bit more. This was exactly where I was looking for, a little bit of a gap fill, and now it's not that compelling. What's not compelling mean? It just worked off this oversold condition into here, and now I don't know what's next, but it was a great option play for those of you on the VTF and in Redler All Access. What did oil do today? Oil, you know, when was it compelling? When we talked about it and it did its little red dog reversal here at 990. And now it looks as if it could use a rest. Not compelling. Not saying it's a short, but you know, here was your long entry at 990. Here was your day 2. Sell day 3. That's the way I usually like to do it. New issues still hanging around. ACIA, you know, working its way up. It's not going to always have to make new highs. Looks okay. At some point, it can get above this. TWLO, rock star status. You know, a lot of guys got along or got on this yesterday when it broke this spot. Last time was here. Still looks good. Backed off a little at the end of the day. Nice, you know, curling up 8 and 21 day, very powerful. LN, which is the new issue for Japan. You know, a little wishy-washy today. You know, I'm in it, but I don't love it. But at some point, I do think it takes this out. And then I know everyone will be buying it up here, so I'm cheating a little bit and being long a little prior. Banks aren't really doing much. What did JP Morgan do today? Let's take a look. You know, poked its head out. Maybe at some point it gets above this. What did Morgan do, which is the best in breed bank? You know, these things just aren't that exciting. But something to do if you're in it. You know, if you're in it and you're holding it, this Morgan seems as if, even with all this, you know, not such great data, looks like it could take this out. So if you're going to be in something, Morgan looks like one of the better banks. Let's see, let me finish it up. What did gold miners do today after yesterday's up day? Nothing great, but a little extra follow through if you got involved yesterday. Overall, I still think this is kind of broken, but there's some opportunities. Here is when it broke below the 50-day, broke the momentum channel, and then yesterday it woke up a little bit. So now I guess we have this little spot here. It's got to hold this in order to stay in the game to potentially take that out. So, you know, take your trades here and there when that transpires, and that's it. Listen, lots of great trades, a lot of good setups. Yesterday was the real one. You know, broke above the lower wedge, took home longs, sold into strength today, and now, you know, have a little less. Last night I didn't take a hedge. Tonight I have a lot of longs still, and after 3 gap ups, I took a little bit of a hedge just in case tomorrow wants to be a quiet day, and I feel like we could trade around it regardless. And that's about it. When these pockets of trading come into play, you gotta jump on it fast. Otherwise, you're gonna be just knick-knacking yourself during the range, and the range could give you too many paper cuts, and that's not fun. Hope you had a good day. I will see you tomorrow. I'll be in Short Hills. No morning call from me, but you will get some information from my note if you're a member, as well as a chart here and there from Twitter. Bye-bye.